And let's see. Okay, what did it do? Okay, we're looking at your screen. And I'm going to turn off my video and say, happy to have Lynn Christensen, a graduate of our program, a graduate of the graduate program at for SBNM. And I'll let you introduce yourself, Lynn. I'm just delighted, as everybody said, thank you for coming and speaking with us.
All right. Thank you so much. So I do have an intro built in here. So just real quick on what I'm going to kind of share with you guys. So I will go through an introduction. I do work for Grainger, so I'll give just a brief overview of who Grainger is. I'll talk about the organization as a whole that I'm a part of, which is merchandising and supplier management. Within that organization, the team that I currently work with is Grainger Sourcing. So I'll talk a little bit about that team and the operations. And then a process where we'll talk about what it means for Grainger sourcing transition. And then we'll open it up to questions, if any of those are out there. So background for myself. So as Mark said, my name is Lynn Christensen. I've been with Grainger now since March of 2017. I started as a senior analyst at Grainger with our product transitions team, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then just this week, I'm starting a new role as a supervisor with our sourcing team. So I'm day 3 of training in all of that. My brain's on overload right now, but it's exciting to learn something new and start getting back into being challenged. So prior to coming into Grainger, I worked for a company called American Hotel Registry. They're a very similar business model to Grainger. They are a family-owned company, over 150 years of experience. They are a distributor just as Grainger is, but American Hotel, as their name alludes, they focus on the hospitality arena. So I would work with all the big hotel companies and work through projects, supply chain, and those type roles. And then prior to that, I was with Hospira, which most of you probably won't be familiar with. The company doesn't even exist anymore, but it was a division that spun off from Abbott Laboratories. So anybody who's from the general Chicago area might be familiar with Abbott, but I was with Hospira that spun off for just 9, just short of 10 years. So, switching industries, that's a big thing. I thought I'd be in pharmaceuticals forever, and now here I'm working for Grainger and touching nothing that has to do with healthcare. So, academic background. So yes, got my master's in operations management with North Park, graduated in 2016. So again, exciting, and congratulations to all of you that are getting close. Those who are just starting, it will go fast, I promise. I do have a master's certificate in change management. So I did start my master's program with Lake Forest Graduate School. And got that certificate, and then transitioned over to North Park, and I loved every minute of it. So, and then I have my bachelor's in international business from Columbia College. On a personal level, I don't have anything on here, but I am married. My husband and I have been married 17 years now. Collectively, we have 4 kids. Our daughter was just recently married 3 weeks ago now. So, and so we only have one left here in the house. Our son, he is 15, so he's a sophomore in high school. So a couple years left with him before we send him off to college. So we'll jump into a little bit about Grainger. So I talked a little bit about how Grainger is a similar company to the previous company I was with, which is American Hotel Register. So Grainger is also a family-run company founded almost 95 years ago, back in 1927, by Mr. William Wallace Grainger. And when he started this company, he was just selling electric motors. And so the pictures on the right there are a couple of the early, what he called catalogs. They're really just, we would call them maybe a pamphlet, 7-8 pages. But he just started selling electric motors. Now, if we look at things today, we now have just over 330 locations of distribution centers as well as branches. The branches are, customers can come in directly. It's like a little store, and they can come in and buy a number of select items directly from us, or they can order them and have them shipped to that location so that they can just come in and pick them up. Just over 23,000 employees across the company today. And our current CEO is not part of the Grainger family, but DG McPherson has been our CEO since October of 2016. So again, over those 95 years, where are we at today? So if we look at our sales as a company, as of last year, we had just under 12 billion in sales as a company for 2020. And keep in mind, that was through a pandemic year, right? Nobody knew what would happen as we went through all of that. So we really came out well in that, increased our sales even from 2019, which we had projected, of course, when we, were wrapping up 2019, but nobody knew what we had coming in 2020. So Grainger is North America's leading broadline supplier of maintenance, repair, and operating products. So you may hear, if you're ever in the industry arena, MRO supplier. So, and primarily operating majority in North America, and then some operations in Japan and Europe. And so, and I should have said this early on, if there are any questions, and we're a small group, so just chime in. I can't see you guys right now while I present, so if you use the little hand icon, I can't see it, so just speak up and throw me any questions you have as we go. So now, we go back from looking at these little cute pamphlet catalogs. We now, this is just kind of our model of how Grainger's operating today. How are we managing this 11.8 billion in sales with plans to still grow? I know we're on track with that for this year as we're wrapping up into Q4 here. But how are we doing that? So this is just kind of our guiding principles that we manage throughout the organization. Our big tagline has been, where it shows our purpose, we keep the world working. A lot of people in their email signatures will put that in there. But it's just, having pride that we are there again, especially going through servicing a lot of areas through natural disasters, hurricanes, and now experiencing our own major disaster, you would call, through the COVID-19 pandemic. And so just knowing that we are keeping businesses going, giving them the products and solutions that they need to continue on. So we'll move in, as I talked a little bit about, so the overall organization that I am a part of is, we call it MSM, you see it on the left there, but stands for Merchandising and Supplier Management. And so just as those allude to, so we've got our merchandising team who identifies what kind of products do we want to put in front of our customers? What are we hearing from customers that they're really looking for and needing? What do we feel that we can really excel in the market with? So that team really focuses on what that product portfolio looks like. And then we've got our supplier management team that works alongside with, managing those relationships with our key suppliers and working through cost negotiations and ensuring that we continue to partner with those suppliers to support the chosen portfolios that we're putting out for the customers. So within this organization, you can see a handful of different names there, and that's all the different teams that operate within this merchandising and supplier management. And so I've got a couple arrows there. So that MSM operations is where I've spent almost the full 4.5 years that I've been with Grainger within the product transitions team. And so that team focuses on exactly that, transitioning products. So what does that mean? Where we're making changes if an item is what we would call drop ship, where we don't bring inventory into our location, the supplier would ship it directly to our customer. Maybe the cost advantage is no longer there for a supplier to drop ship that to the customer. So now we want to look at bringing that into our inventory. We know there's cost to that, right? Financially, there's space management, all of these supply chain majors. So you should be very familiar with that. So our team would assess those various calculations. We also look at, we will bucket items into two groups where we say items that are non-core and items that are core. So if you think about our core items, when you look on our website, they will have pictures so that the customers can see what they're looking for. It will have full description, all the attributes, what are the colors, what are the dimensions of the item, all of those fine details. But that takes time and money to collect all of that data and be able to post that into our website and maintain it. So we have select items that we would consider our core. And then we have items that are in our non-core. And a lot of times when we set up new items, we would set them up as a non-core item. So maybe we're not collecting an image to put out there. We're not collecting all the details. We may have the color that the item is red. Maybe it's a hammer and the handle is red. We may have that out there, but we won't collect some of the additional finer details. But our team does manage it, or the team that I was previously on, we'll do assessments on those non-core items to say if they're selling enough, and if we go and put the investment in to make them a core item, we'll give them a picture, we'll get the additional attributes. What is the sales realization that we can get out of that? That was a big project for me when I was on this team, developing that exact process. And it was really exciting to see, we could see almost immediately the sales increase. At minimum 150%, most of them were 300, 400, 500% sales increase within the 1 month post making it a core item. So that was a really exciting project for me to focus on. But now, if you go down to the bottom of the list, I'm now with our sourcing organization. And so that team focuses on finding those items that are non-standard. So Grainger today in our portfolio, we offer over 1.5 million SKUs, items, however you want to identify that. So we have over 1.5 million. There are still plenty of items out there that customers still are looking for that are not a part of that already large offering that we have. So this sourcing team has the ability to then go out and get quotes from different suppliers and bring that back into our customer and say, okay, we can get it from this vendor or supplier for this amount. Is that something you want to move forward with? So really excited to join that team and, kind of bring in all the knowledge I've got from my previous team and start learning some new stuff on the sourcing side. So this is just a quick look at what the sourcing organization looks like that I've just moved into. And so if I've got boxed there over on the left where it says execution. So our team has kind of 4 main groupings. So this execution team is where I'm at, and where that smaller box is, where it says custom open supervisor, that's the role I've just taken on. So we've got our execution team. If you look then to the right of that, we've got our sourcing and supplier operations group. So they are another arm of this team. We've got a training and CI. CI would be continuous improvement. So there is a separate team there. And then post-order and support. So again, those of you in supply chain majors, I'm sure could understand some of this lingo where we talk about this team goes out to a supplier, gets a quote for them to say, we could sell you this item for this amount. If the customer comes back and says, yes, I'm good with that pricing, we then create the order for them, right? So this last team over here then manages anything once an order is actually created for that customer and product is ordered for them. And then this final team down here of people, and I wish they had actually their titling down here, but this entire group is based out of Panama. And so they handle all sourcing requests from customers through our Panama location. So just seeing this large group and these numbers here are the number of team members under each supervisor. So this is a large team. You can see some team number groups here. Their Panama team is larger than our full US team. So a lot of business being handled through that group. Okay, so a little bit about this sourcing execution team that I'm now a part of. So we've got over 16,000 suppliers or vendors that we have relationships with. So again, that makes Grainger very unique. That puts us in a really competitive position to be able to provide these additional services to these customers and find those unique items that they otherwise can't find on the open market. The vendors that we do work with do need to be able to ship the product from within the US. So clearly we know there are plenty of manufacturers that have manufacturing operations outside of the US for various tax purposes, costs and that. But that is one of our requirements, that they must be able to ship the product from a location within the US. All of our sourcing operations are managed through SAP, which is Grainger's ERP system, which is great for me. I've been working with SAP since I was in Hospira. So it's been a good 15 plus years that I've been utilizing SAP. And so our sourcing specialists, so that will be the team that's reporting to me, when they're creating this quote. So a customer said, I want this blue hammer. You don't have it. Where can we find it? The sourcing specialists are going through a number of steps to choose the right vendor. They're calculating the pricing based on what that vendor is giving us cost on. They have to calculate the freight costs to get the item to our customer. And then there's, within that freight, there's different freight terms, whether they are prepaid and add, completely prepaid, collect, again, supply chain lingo. You guys, I'm sure, are all somewhat familiar with that. So there's a lot of pieces and moving parts that these specialists have to work through, identify, understand, and get the best quote together to give back to that customer. And, hopefully we're going out with our best foot forward, and that customer will come and say, yes, I'm going to buy that through Grainger. The pictures below kind of represent the 4 key areas within our execution team. So if you think back on the organization chart that I showed, and I showed the box that I now am supervising over, it said custom. And so my team manages quotes for all custom products. So generally things that have a logo. So you've got a picture of a hard hat there. There are companies that want their own company logo on those. Serialized items. So Master Lock is a big custom supplier that we work with, where they've got specific keyed locks, certain sets of master keys to go with those locks. There's a huge variety in that, just in that Master Lock business. Also signs. So all the signs. If you go to any store, any business, you'll see signs everywhere. And that company had to order special signs, however they wanted them to look, whatever verbiage they wanted on them. And so we have relationships with several signs vendors to order. Metalworking and Canada, kind of an odd combination, but metalworking, it's a picture of a metal wire brush. So it's all products that would work with, excuse me, in a metalworking area. So if you think about different factories in that are all working with drilling and having to file down metal parts, that would all fall into that metalworking business. And then we do have a full arm of business in the Canada region. So we do have a team that works specifically with our Canada region and then also manages the metalworking. Excuse me. We also then have a team that works with specialized customers. And so there's always those unique customers. They may have special contract pricing or special delivery requirements. So a couple examples would be Disney, 3M. 3M is huge, of course. They have a number of different accounts under their main parent. And so there's different things all across all of them. So there's a team dedicated to understand all of their contracts and all of their specialties. So, and then we have a government team. The picture's got all the military stuff. Clearly it's military and beyond, but military is really our biggest piece of that business. And so there are exclusive items and contracts that we have just for them. No other customers can purchase them. So again, we have a team that focuses specifically on that group of customers and their items. Okay, so a couple highlights for 2020 for this sourcing execution team. Revenue generated of $580 million. A huge increase from last year of $430 million, or from 2019. Again, realizing that we worked that through a pandemic year, $167 million of those dollars in 2020 were pandemic related. So again, being able to create unique items, we carry I can't even remember the abundance of different gloves that we carry. But when you get into a pandemic and every organization now needs disposable gloves and different types, there was still a large number of them that we didn't carry and had customers looking for. So we were able to source those. Masks. Everybody needed masks. I'm sorry, I'm still getting over a cold, so I apologize. But and all types of different masks. So again, saw a ton of that coming through, as well as other PPE, workwear, head dressings, gowns, all of that. So for the year of 2020, this team touched 2.2 million activities, which is huge to even fathom. So activities would, of course, mean, quote requests, responses, interactions with suppliers and that, but 2.2 million through the year is pretty impressive. That comprised of 1.1 million submitted requests, 920,000 of those were actually completed, and 178,000 were actually canceled. And we do see a large volume that come through that they just don't have all of the information. They come to us and say, I need a shovel, but they have no additional information. It's really hard for us to be able to go out and source that for them. So we do have a number of lines that we end up canceling. The team was able to improve the cycle time. So cycle time would be from the time that we receive a quote request to the time that we can deliver that completed quote. And so they were able to improve that just over 17%, from 21 hours to 17.3 hours. So the team is managing just over 2 business days if we break this down to an 8-hour shift. So, and then it also improved their lines one. So lines one would be, we've quoted so many, how many actually resulted in orders from our customers. The little green box, there's a lot of little wording in there, so I don't expect you to try and read through that, but just a couple things of what this team really focuses on. So again, a good supply chain term here would be FIFO. So the team has a queue. We go back to our ERP system. They're working in SAP. So they go in, they have a queue of all the requests that they've received, and they have to sort them and make sure that they're operating and executing the oldest ones first. So first in, first out. Once the quote or RFQ, request for quote, is received, they would complete and return that out to the requester. Again, going back to only sourcing identified items. So if they just say, I need a shovel, we have to turn that back. But if they do have the manufacturer ID number or part number, then we can go out and start building a quote off that. There's a tag on there for our SLA. So our service level agreement would be what that acronym is. And so that's our commitment to the team that submits the requests, or our sales team, that we will complete 1 to 2 business days. We're right now trending just over that 2 business days, but that's dependent on a supplier responding back to us. So still working to improve that, but that is our commitment at this point. Any questions up to this point? I feel like I'm racing through, so. All right, so the last area that I want to talk about is this transition piece, and what does that even mean? So the cool piece, at least for me, is that in my previous role that I just moved out of, this process was coming to my desk to try and build out a process, some reporting and analysis on if we have customers coming to us and asking repeatedly, can you source this same item? They didn't just come one time. They've now asked for this repeatedly. Maybe we need to consider making that an actual Grainger SKU or Grainger item ID so that they can just go on our website and order it instead of having to go through their sales representative, who then comes to us, asks us to go out and quote, get the quote from a vendor, come back and turn that around. So while I won't be, because I'm not on that transition team anymore, but I will still get to work close with whoever does pick up this project to start looking at these opportunities to change over and create a Grainger item so that we can help those customers purchase those repeated sourced items quicker. They'll be able to receive the item quicker. You can see one of the bullets here, greater GP, so gross profit, always a big win, right, for any business. So knowing that we can get a higher GP if we actually have a created SKU, we have a little more control on how we sell that item. So always looking to, of course, improve our customers' experience. So that will be an exciting piece where I get to continue working with my old team to develop that. And so just a couple of examples. I've got a good example and then a not so great example of why we're looking at this. So I love the name of the supplier, Booty Butler. So it's those shoe booty covers. This Butler is a dispenser for that. Where you see the R12, that's just an internal, well, not really internal, that's more of a supply chain across the board, but that would be your rolling 12. So it would be the most recent 12-month period. So if we're looking right now in October, we would look back and say October of 2020 up through September of 2021, that would be the most recent 12 months. So when we see that R12 sales, means we've sold $1.2 million of this product within the past 12 months. We've sold it 161 times in that 12 months and only across 5 customers. So again, if they're constantly coming to us and have to go through this whole sourcing process, and they did this 161 times through a year, we probably should consider making this an item that they can just go on our Grainger website, and I'm guessing they buy other things with us, and they can just add that to their normal order and not have to go through that whole process. And so what we would consider is, as it says here in the disposition, add it to our non-core. So I talked a little bit about differences between our core and non-core. We'd make it a non-core item to start with. And then there's a whole process for it to graduate into our core offering, if that happens. But go ahead and create that. And then you can see where we're realizing that probably along with that dispenser, we should probably be looking at the actual booty covers to go along with that, because chances are that should, come along, sales would come along with that. And so we should make a SKU on that as well. So that will all be reviewed once we get to that process. But then we've got one that's not a great idea. Sales look great. So the supplier is AccuForm. So they sell all types of different signs. So our 12 sales are great. Almost, we're looking over $650,000 in sales, 542 times this item has been purchased across 38 customers. But the problem with this is, while we have so many customers ordering it, they're all ordering a unique version of it. So while it's the same item from AccuForm, their one item number, they have the ability to say, okay, customer A, customer B, customer C, you all want different printing, and we'll print it how you want it. So it wouldn't make sense for us to we couldn't really create one Grainger item, because we wouldn't be able to then get the customization that they can get through our sourcing business now. So just kind of an example of both good and bad that we'll be able to see as we work through this process. I think that is all I had. So any questions, slides to go back to, or thoughts?
Well, I don't want to be in the middle like that. But please ask questions. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them, and
give it a try.
Well, I would ask, are you enjoying the job there, or is it a good company to work for?
Yeah, I will say, again, I've only been here 4.5 years, almost 5 now. But I've loved every minute of it, really and truly. I've worked for several companies, as I shared, and they've had their good parts too, but I can truly say Grainger as a whole, knowing that it's a family established business, the culture within is still like family life. Management is very supportive, always looking to help people grow and continue to move through the organization. So yeah, absolutely. Great company.
Excellent. Anyone else, please?
I was just going to ask, if we were able to have a copy of the slides that you had out tonight.
Yeah, I can definitely send that to Mark. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
Are no other questions? We can let Lynn take her leave. She's had a long day, like probably all of us have.
Yeah.
But I think, Lynn, I really appreciate this, and thanks for letting me record it, because I'll show it to undergraduates too, and save from having to come and present again.
I don't mind.
I know you don't. And I really appreciate everything you do. Yeah. And I'll be sending you a small token of our appreciation.
Oh, well, Thank you for inviting me. Thank you guys for giving me some time in your class. Mark, I'll go ahead and send you that presentation just so if there are others to share with, that's fine. So,
All right. Thank you so
all
much.
right, everybody. Have a great night.
All right.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, what I'm going to do is stop recording.